Hey guys, welcome to the third part of this tutorial series, and in this part we're going to be talking about instant spells. By that I mean spells which do damage right when they are finished casting. We're also going to be talking about damage over time and heal over time spells. So pretty much this is exactly where we left off in the last tutorial. And we're gonna dive straight into creating a very simple targeting system so that we have a target for our instant damage spell. So all we're gonna do is open our my character blueprint, and what we're gonna do is on event tick we're going to draw a trace line. So line trace for objects. And as a starting location for this trace, we want the actor location. And for the end of the line trace, we want the actor location plus a vector that will represent how far out do we want to draw the line. So in this case that would be 500, but we also have to rotate that vector to make sure that it's going in the same direction as the actor is facing. So rotate vector. I'm gonna do 500 here, and for the rotation we want to get actor rotation, and that's gonna be our end vector for the line trace. What we also need to do is set an object type for the line trace to detect. So click make an array, and we're just gonna select the pawn. If you want it to be able to target perhaps vehicles or dynamic objects or static meshes, then you could also do that, but in this case we just want target to be a pawn. Okay, what we're gonna do next is on hit, we're gonna break the struct hit result, and we are going to get the hit actor. And all we're just gonna do is plug the hit actor into our cast function spell target pin. And this is all in terms of the very simple targeting system. And all this will do is it will draw a line 500 units in front of the character, up to 500 units. And if it detects a collision with an actor which is based on the pawn class, then it will return a hit, and it will return which actor it hit. And we're gonna be using this actor as a target for our spellcast. Just to test that this is indeed working, when we look at the actor, it should set it as a target. It means that now if I cast it, the spell should fly towards that target. I know what I'm doing wrong here. I have actually slightly modified one of the spells, and I have changed its movement speed, which is the reason why this is not working correctly. See, in the defaults projectile speed was set to 0, so the spell was not moving. So now the spell should fly, and it does fly towards the pawn. And now that the pawn is dead, we have no target, so we'll just fly forwards. Okay, now that we have done this, we are going to modify the spell created in the second tutorial, which is our damage dealing spell. And what we're gonna do is we want it to deal damage right when it has finished casting and not when the actor overlap begins. So what we're gonna do is very simple. We're gonna get rid of the event actor begin overlap, and we're gonna instead get tick. And what we're gonna do here is first we need to call the parent tick, and then we need a branch. And what this will do is we want to make sure that the spell has finished casting before we try to make it do damage. So what we need to do, we need to get two inherited variables. We need to get the alive variable, and we need to get the cast time. And we need to make sure that the alive variable is greater than the cast time. Basically, this means how long the spell has been in the world since it was spawned, and this is the cast time of the spell. So once it has been in the world longer than its cast time, then that means that it has finished casting. So once the spell has finished casting, we want to get our target. So get target, and this variable is set during the cast automatically by the spell system, and it's set to whatever you pass into your cast function call. And what we're gonna do is cast the target as our sample pawn, which is our enemy class, and then we can just do what we did before with the damage calculation, where we get the spell, drag the struct returned, get the power, and reduce the current health by the power of the spell, and set the target's current health to be equal to that, and then we destroy the spell so it doesn't do damage more than once. Let's save this. Indeed, if I run the game, I'll look at the target I'll look at the pawn so we can set it as a target. And now if I cast the spell, you can see the spell disappeared as soon as it finished casting, and that is because it done damage to our target, and then it was destroyed. So if I cast it second time, it should destroy the enemy, and it does indeed. And we have let the message saying the pawn is dead. What we could also do is here, just before destroying the actor, destroying the spell actor, we may want to, for example, spawn a particle system to show that we dealt a damage to the target. So what we could do is, assuming you set up a particle or collision effect when you created the spell, you can get the collision effect, which in this case is an explosion, and you could spawn an emitter at location. I'm gonna do that again. Spawn emitter at location, and the emitter template will be the collision effect. What we also need to do is we need to set a location. We want the location to be the target's location. So we target and get actor location. And save. Now what this should do, if we select our target actually, and when we cast, you can see that it does indeed spawn the particle effect. upon dealing damage. So this is how you can create an spell that does damage instantly when it has finished casting. Just have to check that it has finished casting and then go ahead with your damage calculation. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna modify this spell to deal damage over a period of time. To do this, we actually need to do something a little more complicated than this. And we're gonna pretty much reuse this damage calculation, and we also will leave the spawn the emitter, so we can see every time the spell has ticked and dealt damage. And we will want it to be triggered once we have finished casting. But what we're gonna do is we are going to create a timer. I'm gonna break this off here, and I'm going to create a timer. We're gonna set timer, and the function name will be spell tick. The time will be 1, and the spell will be, the timer will be set to looping. What we need to do now is we need to create an event called same name as the function. So in this case it will be spell tick. So custom event, add custom event, and we're going to call this spell tick, same as the function name in the set timer. And we are going to link the spell tick to this, but we need to do one more thing. As we have set the timer to be looping, it will loop indefinitely, which means it will just keep doing damage till the enemy is dead, and we do not want that to happen. We want it to only tick 5 times and deal damage upon every tick, and we want the total damage to add up to the power of the spell. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna divide the power into 5. That's one thing we're gonna do. Another thing that we are going to do is create a branch, and we are also going to create a custom variable. Let's gonna move this so I get more space. We need to create a custom variable so we can count how many times the spell has ticked. So what we're going to do is create a variable, and we are going to call this spell tick counter, and it's going to be an integer. And what we're going to do is we are actually going to actually that's it. We're just going to get the spell tick counter, and the default value should be 0. And what we are going to do is we're just going to check that the spell counter is smaller or smaller or equal to 4. Since we are starting at 0, it will take first time at 0, it will take second time at 1, then at 2, then at 3, and then at 4, which gives us 5 ticks in total. And that's going to be our condition. If it is true, what we need to do, we need to set the spell tick counter to equal to itself plus 1. and then we can just proceed with doing the damage. We're also going to move the destroy actor, and we are going to move it to a point when we have gone through the loop, through this little made loop, and we have actually ticked 5 times. So at this point we are going to destroy the actor, and we are also going to turn off the timer. So clear timer. The timer that we want to clear is the same, the function name is exactly the same as our function, our custom event here. So spell tick. And that should be it. And we can test this, of course. By looking at an enemy to select as a target, casting our spell. And spell should have done damage. I can check this by going here and finding my pawn and checking its current health, which is, fortunately, it did not work. It is possible that their names don't match. I'll take odd. And the spell tick counter is smaller or this should work. What we're gonna do for debugging purposes is make this print string, just so we know that it has ticked. So we can actually find out what's going on here. And the spell is not ticking. I think I know what's going on here. Because the event tick gets called every time it keeps resetting the timer, which means that the timer gets never triggered. So what we want to do, we want to make sure that the timer gets called only once. So what we are going to do is create a new Boolean variable, and we're gonna call it tick. We're gonna call it tick begin actually. And we're going to set this Boolean. We're going to check for it first. And we want to make sure that it's false. Start of, so not. And we're going to do not take begin and spell has finished casting. And if it indeed did, then we're going to set the timer, and after we set the timer, we're going to set tick begin to true, as in the tick has begun, which will prevent this from being called over and over again, meaning that the timer will only get called and set up once, and then the rest of the spell logic is handled through our custom event. We can see it has ticked, and seems to have only check actually how many times. It only ticked twice. Now why has it only ticked twice? It is quite possible that the spells how there is a variable setting how long a spell is alive. And if that variable is too small, then the spell would not be active for long enough. Oh, no. I know what is going on. By default, every spell inherits from the spell base. And there is an event hit, which automatically destroys the spell. And what is happening is the spell gets casted, it flies by, but it does do damage over time, but as the particle itself is flying, it ends up hitting the wall, which destroys the spell. So what we could do is override the hit event in our spell to prevent that from happening. Or another thing we could do is set the spell's movement speed to 0. If I open the spell blueprint and go to defaults, there is a projectile speed. Set the projectile speed to 0, then the spell will just linger where it spawned and then take doing damage to the enemy. You can see 5 times, and then the spell was destroyed. And if we click our sample pawn here, we can see that the current health is 50. If I cast the spell again, it should kill it, and indeed it does. So now we have created a damage over time spell that takes. You can notice that when I cast the spell, actual spell particle effect actually stays on our character. If that's something you would want, as in to sort of show who is casting the spell, and you could just leave it as it is. But what you could also do is, once the spell has finished casting, you could move the spell and set its location to be same as the actor. You could attach it to the actor that it's supposed to be dealing damage to. This will be very, very simple. All you would need to do is attach actor to actor. You just snap to target, and the parent actor would be set to our target. What this will do, it will make sure that the spell that we are casting, so the fire, does not linger, but it's indeed attached to our sample pawn, which is our enemy. You can see. And our enemy is burning and taking damage over time. Okay, next thing we're gonna tackle is a spell that heals over time. And this is going to be very, very similar to this, to dealing damage over time, except what we want to do is increase the health, not decrease it, and we want to check that the current health does not exceed the maximum health of the character. What I'm gonna do in this case is I'm going to modify the healing spell that we've created in the previous tutorial. This is our healing spell. And you can see it has the logic to handle actual healing, but at the moment it happens on event tick, which means it happens when we have finished casting. What we want to do though, we want to use exactly the same logic as before for the damage over time spell. What we're going to do is break the link here, and we're going to move this into a custom event, and this event is, we're going to call this, and we could just copy what we've done here. I'm actually gonna go ahead and do that. Yeah, remember that I need the tick begin and spell tick counter. What I'm gonna do is just copy this and just copy most of it. There is no point doing the tutorial for the same thing twice. I'm just gonna go ahead and copy this somewhere where there's actually space. I'm going to create our variable called tick begin, just like before, and also going to create a variable integer type called spell tick counter. I'm going to compile, make sure that there are no errors, and I'm going to get our tick event. Call the parent function, and go to our if statement, our branch. Then again, set the timer for spell tick, set the tick begin, just like before, just like we've done in the damage over time spell. Exactly the same, except we're replacing the damage logic with the spell logic. And you can see how we've created a spell logic in the previous tutorials. But basically, we just get the spell, break the spell struct, get the power, and we're adding the power to the current health. And we are also checking that the max health is greater than the current health. And if it is greater, if current health is greater than max health, then we set the current health to be equal to the value of max health. And right after that, we destroy the actor. So again, we're going to move the destroy actor. We don't want it to be destroyed after one tick. And also what we're gonna do is divide the power into the number of ticks that we want to happen. You could leave it as it is, but at this point, every tick it would heal for 50, which is not what we want. So we are going to divide this by there are 5 ticks happening, so we're gonna divide it by 5. So in this case, the final value of the heal from the start to finish will be 50, but per tick it will only heal by 10. And I'm just going to connect this function here. Right after setting the spell tick counter. I'm gonna compile this, there should be no errors, and the spell should work. And remember, in the previous tutorials, we have set the right click to be self-cast. And also remember that by default, the first spell to be casted is the first spell to be added, and that we need to scroll the wheel, select our next spell. And right click is a self-cast, so I'm just going to self-cast here. I have selected the correct spell. And it seems that I have not. Oh, I forgot. In the tutorial 2.5, I mentioned how you could use the spell type for handling who it gets casted on. And I removed the right click for self-cast, and instead I set it that every healing spell is automatically self-cast when it's casted using the left click. If I have selected the correct spell, and I believe I have not, we can see spell is indeed healing me. So yeah, scroll once to select the correct spell. And then you can see per tick I get healed by 10 HP every tick. So that's how you would create a spell that heals over a period of time. And that's it for this tutorial series. There will be tutorials coming up how to deal with other types of spell. There also will be an update coming very shortly for the spell system that will have a function so that you can cancel a spell cast. At the moment, what you would need to do, you would need to make a very slight modification to the spell system to cancel a cast. But in the next update, that is going to be coming as its own function. There is also going to be a function added to the spell base, which allows it to get the actor that has actually begun casting the spell. And I've been working with another developer, making sure that the spell system is multiplayer ready. All this will be coming up in an update that should be up literally within next day or two. If you have already bought the spell system and you don't want to wait for Epic to put the content up on the marketplace, you can contact me on either my email or the forums with a proof of purchase, and I will send you the files for that. Well, thank you for being here with the, going through the tutorial and whatnot. Hope it was helpful. If you have any requests for further tutorials or any requests on functionality within the system, contact me either by email or on the Unreal forums, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for watching. Bye.